This is Veterans Day 2007, the 11th day of November. We're at the Post 20 American Legion on the Quarry Road, ready to begin our services for another year. So to give you an idea of what the crowd looks like here, the American Legion Post 20 before our program begins today. Quite a nice group of people. The temperatures in the low 30s after a very frosty night in the North Country. This is always an important occasion for veterans everywhere across America. Making the ceremonies on the actual Veterans Day. A lot of people will get the holiday, of course, on Monday, which will be the 12th. And it's now 11 o'clock, so our program will begin in just a few moments.
I'd like to get started. I know we're a little bit late. At this time, we'd like to have the Plattsburgh State University College ROTC cadets post the colors. And salute. We'll now have the singing of the Canadian anthem and then the American anthem. But the Wood brothers are one wood.
One wood and then the other one will join. Oh, Canada, ere no sire, to from his ends, de Florence glorier, Carto bras et forte la paix, il s'emporte la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée, des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We're fortunate to have Carl Polks with us today, and he will accompany us on our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see what an early light was so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, those sunshines and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets were upon thirsting air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Post colors. Let's give these cadets a round of applause. This is the first time they've done that. Great job to our future leaders. You may be seated. This time I want to welcome everybody to American Legion Post 20. It's good to see old friends again. A lot of times Memorial Day and Veterans Day is the only day we get together. It's great to see Mr. Artloff here again. He hasn't been here in a few years. And at the head table, up on the dais, we have the President of the Auxiliary, Mary Provost. Our featured speaker today, Mr. Joe Connor, which you'll hear from later. The town of Plattsburgh Supervisor, Bernard Bassett. And the Assembly lady from the 114th Assembly District in Albany, Janet Gilpry. Behind me, to my right, is the Commander of Post 20, Howard Turner. And everybody knows Portland Wood. At this time, I'd like to, if you rise for the invocation, I'd like to have Ron Wood do the invocation on behalf of our chaplain who has a very bad throat problem.
Shall we bow our heads? O God of hosts, we bow our heads in thanksgivingness for the victories thou hast granted us. To us and to those people who have united with us to stamp out the evil of aggression, intolerance, and in greed. We beseech thee to bring the blessings of the understanding to the families and friends in this and other lands, of those who have given their lives that men and women may be free. Grant, O God, that thou closest to the fallen may mingle the pain of their losses with the ennobling light of sacrifice for civilization, sacrifice for a better world, for this and other generations yet unborn. Grant us too, O God, the courage to so live with a family of nations around the world that the end of strife will be the beginning of enduring peace. Grant us patience in planning with our fellow men and women, a world in which nations may resolve their differences by peaceful means. Touch thou the souls of people in every land with the enduring light of wisdom, so they may form a brotherhood which will strive to further the arts of peace under laws and ethics blessed by the love. Grant us now thy continued blessings upon unity and strength that makes victories possible in war, that we may win greater victories of peace. Amen. Amen.
This time, please be seated. This time we'll have a short welcome from the Post 20 Commander, Howard Turner.
Morning, everybody. Morning. I hope everybody got here. I know we had quite a few phone calls. Our Canadian friends and other people that get lost in Clinton County. I had about 3 phone calls this morning. But anyways, I really want to appreciate everybody being here. I don't want to miss anybody's name, so thank you all for coming. On this day, Veterans Day, we are commemorating the services of veterans of all wars. We remember how men and women set aside their civilian pursuits to serve their country's cause, defending the freedom of mankind and preserving our precious American heritage. And in there, I also want to say the Canadian. We believe in our strength on the field and in battle. Our supply lines that nourished our armed might lay in the justice of our cause against the forces of evil. We believe our determination made us a better warrior because we fought with our minds, our hearts, and our bodies. We recognize service to our country and our cause does not end with determination of military services. We continue our endeavors in behalf of an honorable world peace with a feeling of profound gratitude to God and to the men and women who give their lives as part of their cost to this noble cause. Out of blood, sweat, and tears, we learn a purpose, sacrifice, tolerance, bravery, and discipline. These are the solid foundation stones upon which a great nation is built. In our continuing quest for an honorable world peace, we must cultivate these virtues. And to that I say amen.
Now we'll have President Mary Provost.
Good morning. On behalf of the American Legion Auxiliary Unit 20, I want to welcome you all to this Veterans Day ceremony. Every year, several thousand troops, veterans, and their families turn to service organizations like ours for help. Your support has helped change the lives of all those heroes who have given so much. Please pray for all our servicemen, women, and veterans of all the wars. God bless, and thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Mary. At this time, we'll have a selection from Ron Wood.
I would like to dedicate this beautiful song to all those that have gone before us. It's entitled, My Buddy. Nights are long since you went away. I think about you all through the day, my buddy, my buddy. Nobody quite so true. Miss your voice and the touch of your hand. Just long to know that you understand, my buddy, my buddy. Your buddy misses you. Miss your voice and the touch of your hand. Just long to know that you understand, my buddy, my buddy. Your buddy misses you. Your buddy misses you.
Thank you, Ron. At this time, we'll have the reading of the Governor's Proclamation by Robert Booth, the former POWMIA.
We have a new governor, so we have a new kind of a proclamation. Whereas every year on November 11th, communities across this state and nation join to observe Veterans Day in remembrance of the brave men and women who selflessly served in America's armed forces, defending our freedom, security, and democracy. They are the most noble of citizens who made great sacrifices for the cause of peace, and they deserve and will always have the respect and appreciation of all citizens. And whereas on Veterans Day, we pause to commemorate the contributions of all who have served in various branches of our military, those who passed away and those still with us as their families do each day. And whereas America has been blessed with an abundance of such men and women who nobly battled tyranny and the oppression in 2 world wars, those who fought in Korea, Vietnam, and the Middle East, and today our men and women in uniform are again at war, fighting terrorism and standing vigilantly in defense of America and our cherished way of life. And whereas on this Veterans Day we salute this courage and dedication to the defense of our democracy and the sovereignty of freedom-loving nations around the world, recognizing it is an extraordinary person who willingly steps into harm's way to protect others. And whereas our veterans truly embrace the values of service, dedication, and discipline, and fully appreciate the benefits of life and liberty, and all Americans have found in these special citizens the leadership, courage, and determination needed to overcome threats to our nation and the ideals of democracy. And whereas we owe our veterans an immeasurable debt of gratitude for what they have done for us as people and a nation, and for all they continue to do to make the world better and safer for future generations of Americans, as today we honor the legacy of selfless contributions made by countless military veterans, and especially the freedom they have bestowed upon our country and the many rewards it brings to each of our lives. Now therefore, I, Elliot Spitzer, Governor of the State of New York, do hereby proclaim November 11, 2007 as Veterans Day in the Empire State.
Now I'd like to call on Rick Smith, member of this post, to read the President's Proclamation. First time we've ever had the President. Rick?
Morning. Through our history, America has been protected by patriots who cherished liberty and made great sacrifices to advance the cause of freedom. The brave members of the United States Armed Forces have answered the calls to serve our nation, ready to give all for their country on Veterans Day. We honor these extraordinary Americans for their service and sacrifice, and we pay tribute to the legacy of freedom and peace that they have given our great nation. In times of war and peace, our men and women in uniform step forward to defend their fellow citizens and the country they love. They showed a great responsibility and lived up to the highest standards of duty and honor. Our veterans held fast against determined and ruthless enemies and helped save the world from tyranny and terror. They ensured that America remains what our founders meant her to be, a light to the nation, spreading the good news of human freedom to the darkest corners of the earth. Like the heroes before them, today a new generation of men and women are fighting for freedom around the globe. Their determination, courage, and sacrifice are laying the foundation for a more secure and peaceful world. Veterans Day is dedicated to the extraordinary Americans who protected our freedom in years past and to those who protect it today. They represent the very best of our nation. Every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, and Coast Guardsman has earned the lasting gratitude of the American people, and their service and sacrifice will be remembered forever. In the words of Abraham Lincoln, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle. On this Veterans Day, I ask all Americans to express their appreciation to our nation's veterans. With respect for and in recognition of the contributions our servicemen and women have made to the cause of peace and freedom around the world, the Congress has provided that November 11th of each year shall be set aside as a legal public holiday to honor our nation's veterans. Now, therefore, I, George W. Bush, President of the United States of America, do hereby proclaim November 11, 2007 as Veterans Day and urge all Americans to observe November 11 through November 17, 2007 as National Veterans Awareness Week. I encourage all Americans to recognize the valor and sacrifice of our veterans through ceremonies and prayer. I call upon federal, state, and local officials to display the flag of the United States and to support and participate in patriotic activities in their communities, unions, and the media to support this national observance with commemorative expressions and programs. In witness thereof, George W. Bush, President of the United States.
Thank you, Rick. This time we'll have the laying of the wreaths. World War I, Napoleon Light. World War II, Richard Turnbull. Korean War, Frank Bushy. Frank is also an atomic war veteran. Vietnam War, Dale McMahon. Lebanon, Grenada and Panama, Glenn Clausen. Persian Gulf, Joan McMahon. The Iraq War, Jeffrey Turner. Just came back from his second tour in Iraq. Gold Star Mother, Denise Conley, assisted by Mary Simoni and Marie Maggie. So Marie's gonna do it, okay. American Legion Post 20 by Commander Howard Turner. Unit 20 Auxiliary, as President Mary Provost. MIA POW by Mary Simoni, who took over for Andrew Lawrence doing the MIA POW service at the Old Base Chapel, doing an outstanding job. .48, Ronald Cookson. American Military Retiree, Chapter 2-1, John Ritchie. DAD, Chapter 179, Gary Hamill. Gary here. Veterans of Foreign War Auxiliary, Post 125, Raleigh, Stephanie. Sons of the American Legion, Squadron Number 20, Commander Chuck Capo. Blue Star Moms and Dads of Clinton County, Linda O'Connor. Are there any other organizations that wishes to lay a wreath? This time we'll have our rifle salute by our Post 20 Honor Guard. Mary Samodi, would you and your granddaughter hold the doors open, please? That'll be followed by taps to be played by 2 members of the Plattsburgh High School band. Ready to. You may be seated. At this time, we're going to have another selection by the Woods Brothers.
I'm the oldest. He's a baby.
Again, it's an honor to have Carl with us. You'll forgive me, but now that I'm in my somewheres in my decade here, I'm having mental problems. Well, anyway, we're going to do our best to sing Old Danny Boy.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the flowers are dying. It's you must go and I must hide.
But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's flushed and white with snow. It's I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so.
But when ye come and all the flowers are dying, and I am dead, as dead I well may be.
Yeah.
come and find a place where I am lying, and kneel and say, and thou wait there for me. And I shall hear the soft you tread above me, and on my grave will one sweeter be. For you shall mend and tell me that you love me, and I will rest in the peace until you come to me.
You two guys follow orders well, that was a good request. This time it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Town of Plattsburgh Supervisor, Bernard Bassett, for a few words. Bernie?
Thank you, Art. That's a tough act to follow, though. Jeez, I don't know, we all get swept away. Thank you very much. Just a great host, a great group, as always. And as always, I guess I'm here because I'm the supervisor, but I like to think, Art, that I'm here because I'm one who benefited by your efforts. And I know I've said that before, and it's my foremost thought always when I'm around the firemen and the policemen and our veterans. Because of what you did, I'm here. I am not a veteran. I didn't have that opportunity. I didn't share those experiences, but I sure appreciate everything that you've done and continue to do for us. Last evening, my wife and I watched Pearl Harbor. It felt good to have an evening to spend with my wife. It's been kind of busy lately. And as much as we know that's Hollywood, Hollywood did some special things with that movie, I think. It allowed us to have a little insight, take a little look at the human part of what happened on that day. I've always been a student of history. I had a minor in history, so I always had a personal interest. And it always amazed me what it took for the sleeping giant to come alive, for you to become involved, to preserve what was threatened at that moment. And there's one phrase I heard during the film, and I wanted to steal it, but I just couldn't do it. I've got to give credit. And it was when the crew was, Doolittle was forming his famous band to go do Mission Impossible. And the comment made that this was a group of ordinary men and women who were being called to do an extraordinary thing. And I think that really does sum it up in so many ways. I'm sure many times you've looked at yourself as I've looked at myself and said, how did I get here? It's the group of ordinary people, men and women, called to do the extraordinary. And a couple of you I've had a chance to speak with a little closer one-on-one today. I was looking to see if someone looked at my lapel. Certainly I have a flag on today, as I do most days, but I also have a bumblebee. And the bumblebee came to me through my 34 years in education. And what the bumblebee represents, I think, parallels what happened on that day, not only with Doolittle's raid, but so many other individual heroic efforts that we could talk about. But if we let the physicists take a look at our little piece of nature here, the bumblebee, for all practical, scientific, data-driven, research-based reasons, that chubby little insect has no right to fly. The wingspan is not appropriate to suspend the mass of the body. And if you had a group of engineers propose this little insect as a flying machine, they would laugh. It's not possible. And as I put that on this morning, I was thinking, I'm going to be meeting with a group of people who have done what was sometimes called an impossible thing successfully. So I wear that very proudly as well as a reminder to me, ordinary people doing extraordinary things, makes the difference and takes care of the rest of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernie, for them kind words. This time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our Assembly Lady from the 114th Assembly District. She comes from a large military family, and with no further ado, Janet Duper.
Thank you, Art. For those of you who were here Memorial Day, I spoke a little bit about a very special brother-in-law, and for those who weren't, I'm just going to recap quickly that back when I was in high school, there was a younger fella, a couple of years younger than me, who started encouraging me to date his older brother. And Arthur, as I got out of school and moved away and came back, not only encouraged, but actually pushed and prodded me with the acclamation that he wanted me to be his sister-in-law, and that his oldest brother was the perfect match for that. On September 9th, just a couple of months ago, that oldest brother, Elmer, and I celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary. With a family dinner with our children and our grandchildren. And during that dinner, I offered a toast to that very special brother-in-law, Arthur, in the remembrance that it was August 16th, 1968, when the Marine Corps knocked on the door of my mother-in-law and father-in-law's home to tell them that we had lost that very special man in Vietnam. Friday night, our 9-year-old granddaughter came home from school and told her mom that they celebrated Veterans Day in school on Friday, and she told her class about her Uncle Arthur. And she said, "Mommy, I wish Uncle Arthur could have been there." Don't we all? Last Thursday, my nephew Jason, who's in the Navy, was deployed. In 3 weeks, my nephew Andy is deploying with the Marine Corps. I want to thank each of the veterans who have sacrificed their lives, each and every one of you here today who served, those who continue to serve, not only on behalf of our state and our country, but very, very personally to my family and me, that my beautiful grandchildren have the freedom to celebrate an anniversary with Nana and Papa.
Thank you, Janet, for the kind words. Our featured speaker today is no stranger to some of you people that retired from Plattsburgh Air Force Base. It's a great honor today that our featured speaker, he was born in New York City. He entered the Air Force in 1962 with an ROTC commission from Holy Cross College. He has over 4,000 hours flying many airplanes, from the supersonic T-38 and pilot training to the O-1s as forward air controller with a max speed of 85 knots. Most of his flying experience was piloting large airplanes. His most memorable flying mission was flying the National Command Post, the National Command Post that accompanied President Nixon on his trip to China. During his Vietnam tour, he was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross and the Bronze Star. He and his wife Peg moved to Plattsburgh Air Force Base in 1975 with their 6 children. Their son and 3 of their daughters are also veterans. After retiring in 1982, he started a financial planning business which continues today. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you retired Major Joseph Connor, Air Force.
Thank you, Commander Turner. Membership Chair Flaggy. It's a great honor. Each year on the 11th of November, the American people pause to recognize the veterans who have served them so well over the years. It's a great pleasure for me to celebrate this special day with so many of you. We veterans are a diverse group. We represent every segment of society. Some of you, many of you served as soldiers, others as sailors, Marines, airmen. Drafted or as volunteers, veterans have stepped forward in every generation to serve our great country and the cause of freedom. All veterans, whether they're stationed stateside or deployed overseas, have one thing in common. They have all taken an oath to protect our country and deploy without question at any time, to any place, and prepared to fight and, if necessary, die for our country. My military service was primarily really in a supporting role for combat forces. I was part of a team, and any recognition that I've gotten over the years was as much due to the success of that team and the professionalism of those I served than anything I did that was special. Early in my flying career, that's before I had to use glasses to read my notes, I flew tankers stateside and overseas, supporting SAC bombers and recon airplane birds in the Cold War missions. Later, I served as a member of the National Airborne Command Post, where I had Paul Steffen, my friend and a long-time member. And my final flying assignment was as a test pilot on the AWACS prototype at Boeing in Seattle. But it's my Vietnam tour that I'd like to spend a moment to talk to you about. I was a forward air controller supporting the U.S. Army's 9th Division in the Delta of Vietnam. That tour opened my eyes to the magnificent teamwork of the Army Combat Forces. The key man in the Delta, as he is in every war, is the infantry soldier. And I watched from my perch daily, at 1,500 feet, young infantrymen, most of them draftees, daily patrolling in enemy territory, basically walking in rice paddies up to their necks in water, methodically uncovering enemy supplies and enemy positions. They perform their missions like pros. We, FACS, were just a small group of 3 or 4 pilots, a couple maintenance guys. We lived, slept, and ate with the Army. We did mission planning with them, manned their command post, and they treated us as an integral member of the fire support team along with the CAV and the artillery. We flew a single-seat, single-engine prop airplane. That was the one with the max speed of 85 knots, with binoculars, marking rockets, and many radios. We used to call it the bird dog, because our job was to find and flush out the enemy. When we found signs of the VC, bunkers, sampans in enemy territory, we would alert the ACAV, direct artillery, or bring the Air Force in to bomb and destroy the target. Our most critical and really most satisfying mission was to protect our soldiers in a firefight. It was a very active area. The Army was constantly engaging with the VC and the NVA. And when our troops were in contact, the Air Cav and the Air Force fighters were directed to the battle to suppress enemy fire on teams. The Air Force came in low, treetop altitude, dropping nape and high drag bombs on the enemy frequently that were really close to our soldiers. There were times that the fire support team couldn't help. They weren't available. The situation was too chaotic, so we couldn't tell friend from foe. The Army in those critical moments made up for lack of firepower with bravery and frequently with heroism. Their leadership at all levels, from corporals to captains, would routinely risk their lives to retrieve wounded soldiers from exposed positions. One desperate night, I watched a small group of Rangers. They were about to be overrun. They were surrounded. The battalion commander, Colonel Hackworth, as a last resort, watched them order a loach, and despite intense ground fire, drop him and him alone into this chaos. With this help and leadership, they repelled the attack and were airlifted unhurt at daylight. During my tour, we lost a lot of helicopters. I managed to lose 2 F-100s to ground fire. but our soldier casualties were very, very low. The soldier on the ground knew without a doubt that if they took fire, all the might of the U.S. military would be immediately deployed to remove them from danger and destroy the enemy. My point is, the military will spare no effort or expense to protect our own, and our capability to do so is unequaled in history. The 9th Division soldiers are my heroes. I love to tell their story. Americans overwhelmingly support our military, but unfortunately, in this day and age, we are unaware of our soldiers' deeds, sacrifices, and successes. We live in an era where military service is rarely mentioned, not to mention honored by the national media. In our culture, bad news gets headlines, and good news gets buried in the middle of the paper. The most recent example of this, about a month ago, the Congressional Medal of Honor was awarded to Navy Lieutenant Michael Murphy. This special award is given very infrequently, and only a brief mention of it was made in the national media, and especially the New York Times. My wife used to remind me when I was probably watching television when there was work to be done, that her work was never done. Well, so it is with veterans. With the war on terrorism well into its 6th year, our military needs our support. It's more essential now than ever for veterans to reach out to military members in need. Today we have women and men deployed at a frequency that was unequaled, at least in modern times. Further deployments have recently put even more stress on these military families. American corporations, nonprofit groups, average citizens, heroes, unsung heroes, are showing their unwavering support for the military community. They write letters to soldiers, send care packages, some even fund summer camp while their parents are deployed. In the local communities, veterans organizations, as usual, lead the way. We are used to looking out for each other. The American Legion is a supporter, or a leader in supporting our deployed military. Post 20 has provided fuel oil and other financial assistance when it was needed. During the holiday, they have a Christmas baskets and a party honoring deployed members and their families. They're always looking for people in need. If you're aware of any military family that's struggling, bring it to the leadership's attention and they'll jump on it. Because of you, my fellow veterans, that have been willing to serve, our nation has been able to win freedom for others, to hold off the ambitions of the violence, and to keep the peace in troubled places. And above all, our people have been able to live free for over 200 years. Thank you for your service. May God bless you and our great country, the United States of America.
Great job, Mr. Connie. We really appreciate his work. And by the way, he is a Legionnaire as of today, member of Post 20. Just a few thank yous and announcement before we have our benediction. There will be a luncheon upstairs afterwards. I want to thank Lake Champlain Weekly, Rick Smith for being here, the Plattsburgh Press Republican, Rachel Moore, for all the photos she's taken, our newly joined group, the Plattsburgh State College ROTC cadets. They did a fine job again, and the Plattsburgh High School Buglers, along with Linda Sullivan. Thanks for coming. We'll have the benediction by Unit 20 Chaplain Anna Duquette. This will be followed by a melody of song from the Wood Brothers, closing with God Bless America. So please don't leave. Annie.
Good morning. A tribute to veterans. When I was very little,
Men I didn't know at all marched off to foreign countries to fight for one and all. They fought for freedom and liberty. They fought for you and me. They fought, oh glory, in a thing called democracy. Today, now many years later, in a foreign country too, our troops again are defending, oh glory. I'm sorry. Our nation's red, white, and blue. We all know what she stands for, and it seems really to be true. Sometimes we all take for granted our freedom, which is very precious, it is true. Today, tomorrow, in the days ahead, take just a minute of your time to stop and think about our veterans and our service members who generously give to you. A year, a life, a limb, maybe two. No matter what the cost, they defend their country, brave and true. In a moment notice they're off. We want to gracefully thank you for all you represent and do for our great country, the U.S. of A. May God bless you.
This is for my foot. We always have a great time. And I just want to share with you that both my granddaughters are back from Iraq. And Cortland has a grandson that just got back from not only Afghanistan, but Iraq, and he's back. And to all of us that are here today who have loved ones, may God protect them all. We would like to close on a happy thought, and we're going to start off with Give My Regards to Broadway, and it's a joy to have our very good friend Carl Coates with us. Ready, big brother?
Give my regards to Broadway and Bermuda and Rosemary. And all these that street that I will be there. The word of how I'm learning to live the way the old time goes. Give my regards to old Orleans and I'll be there long. And I'll be there long. Father and I went down to camp along with Captain Gooden, and there we saw the men and boys as thick as Hastin pudding. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle Dandy. Mind the music and the steps, and will be handy.
Now, if you want to sing, ready? Oh,
I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy, Yankee Doodle ride. I'm a blue like every rubber Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. I'm not a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's my Yankee Doodle boy. Oh, Yankee Doodle, way to London, riding on a pony. I am a Yankee Doodle, I am a Yankee Doodle, I am a Yankee Doodle boy. You're a grand old factor, I'm riding down your head to the green road. You're the emblem of the land I love, the free and the brave. Every heart beats true under red, white, and blue, where there's never a home to bread. Old acquaintance, we forgot, keep your eye on the grand old flag.
now we invite you to stand. I didn't say you could leave.
God bless America, and let's all join hands, those that can. God bless
While you're still standing, I want to thank Gordie Reynolds and hometown people. Everybody you got earlier. If we'll all face the colors, we'll salute the colors before we adjourn upstairs. And salute, 1, 2. Thank you all for coming, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.